What is the killer app for space colonization? Not just space exploration, we will likely do that anyway, but what change has to take place before we regard space colonization as a priority? Now, first of all, I want to make clear that my interest in space colonization and space exploration is intellectual. I find space interesting. I find the technologies that we would develop to get to space interesting. I'm not personally invested in that much in whether humanity colonizes space or not, but I do find it intellectually interesting. Now, I know the difference between something that I find intellectually interesting and something that we would want to spend multi-mega trillions of dollars on, which is what it would take. Also, if we just want living space, terraforming the Sahara would cost trillions and trillions of dollars, but it would be much easier than trying to colonize Mars. So there's that. But I'm just curious, what would have to happen before we would find space colonization to be something that we would wish to prioritize, because it would be very expensive. One thought is if there was a near miss from an asteroid that almost hits Earth, like a asteroid of a size that would be, civilization ending or life ending, that might get people to thinking that maybe we need to have a plan B. So that might be one thing. If there were any kind of exotic raw materials out in space that might make it worth it to go out there and get them, that probably we would have already found such things in asteroids, and that probably we would be able to synthesize it or discover the means by which it formed in space and synthesize it here on Earth much less expensively than going out and getting it. So that's probably not a thing that would happen. I try to think of what else would cause colonization to be a priority. The asteroid thing would definitely be one. If we had an asteroid that almost hit Earth, and we kind of decide that we really need a second plan in case things go bad, that would probably be one thing we might do. I'm playing with my little spaceship here. And again, I want to see space colonization not because I necessarily think it would be that great of an idea, but because it would be intellectually interesting. I am fascinated with space and discovering what goes on the planets and moons, and also discovering what kind of technology we would have to develop to make those things happen. So that's what I'm interested in. I'm not the guy who's going to have to justify spending $100 trillion to actually do it, but just in terms of thinking of what would cause space colonization to become necessary, so much so that the governments and corporations would invest in it. Let's see. Maybe if we had some sort of science-ocracy, like if like utter science nerds took over the United States, as improbable as that might seem, if that were to happen, then maybe the people that they would see that as part of their mandate or their purpose. Maybe, I mean, that's so unlikely as to be ridiculous, but possible. Let's see what else. If we discovered life, on Mars or say Europa, although Europa is actually, I was just reading about the upcoming probe to Europa. Europa is bathed in a whole lot of radiation, so any kind of life that would be there would be deep under. So I mean, it's still possible that there could be life there, but it would have to be, down pretty deep. But discovering life would probably be kind of a killer app of sorts for at least increasing exploration. I'm not sure that would still spur colonization, but it definitely would increase exploration, and it would increase people's interest in space in general. Let's see what else. Now, with all the talk about UFOs, I am still not convinced that isn't some sort of psyop, some sort of psychological operation carried on by the military for some unknown purpose or some debatable purpose. But if you think about the distance between the stars, that is so vast, and our understanding of the physics of trying to defeat the light barrier is actually fairly well along. That I can see that probably if there are ETs, they probably aren't from other star systems. But if we discovered like an alien life form, extraterrestrial species, extraterrestrial intelligent life, that probably would spur us on a great deal. I'm not sure that would necessarily be a good thing. One thing is there's no guarantee that such creatures would be friendly with us, or even if that they would, even if they have the best of intentions, it may not be that their good intentions are good for us. I mean, like taking for example what we did to the Hopi Indians. We set up schools and forced them to learn English, and probably the people who did that thought that they were doing a good thing. But whether the Hopi thought that was a good thing, almost certainly they did not. And so even if the aliens are benevolent, they don't necessarily know what's right for us. So any way you go with the whole alien things, there's a tremendous possibility for things going wrong. But anyway, if we saw that there was extraterrestrial life, that would probably also be a big spur to colonization. Probably the ideal thing as far as spurring us to colonizing space would be a malevolent but very inept alien race. In other words, an alien race that doesn't like us and is hostile, but they're bad at it, so that we could catch up to their level and hopefully deter them. Meanwhile, colonizing space. That's also something that would work. That's a little far fetched, but I'm thinking in terms of anything that would actually cause space colonization to be a high priority. And there's actually not that many things. Again, probably it's in terms of the things that are likely to happen. Having an asteroid that would be a civilization ending or even life ending pass right near Earth probably would prompt us to colonize space pretty much by itself, just because we would look at that and see, wow, we could have bought the ranch and we don't want humanity to become extinct. Then again, with politics and the general stupidity of humanity at this point, I'm not sure that would do it either. Probably they would get all excited about colonizing Mars for a short while, and then they'd go on to bickering about something and forget all about it. So I mean, that would definitely be a possibility. So again, possible killer apps for space colonization. One thing could be, and I don't think this is that likely, but if you think, suppose we would run out of all petrochemicals, which is actually quite unlikely, because even after we dig up all the known reserves of oil and natural gas, there are probably lots more that are relatively easy to get to. And if we even use that, even if that doesn't wind up being the case, there are methane clathrates in the seafloor, we could dig those up. It might have bad consequences for the planet, but I don't think that would actually stop anybody. So I don't think that we're going to actually run out of carbon fuels for the foreseeable future. But if we did, for some reason, then we could consider space-based energy systems to be our best option. And if that were to happen, then we would definitely want to get space resources to build those things instead of Earth resources. In other words, it would be, we're going to have giant solar energy farms in space. We definitely want to build that out of stuff that's already in space, rather than start bringing stuff up from Earth. So that might be one possibility. And again, I think that probably we will turn Earth into Venus long before we run out of carbon fuels. So I really don't think that's going to be a problem. I mean, it's going to be a problem because of the carbon in the atmosphere, but it's not going to be a problem finding those fuels. So other killer apps. I want to say that there could be some resources in the asteroid belt that we either don't know about and then discover, or we something that's in say the asteroid belt that we don't have on Earth and we can't readily manufacture. I really don't think that's very likely. Even then, theoretically, I mean, we could access those resources without colonization. It's just that colonization would make things easier because you'd have people, there on site full time. In terms of science pushing colonization, again, if we say found life on Mars, it's possible that we could push to, people could push to colonize Mars just so that we would have people there to study it full time. Then again, there probably would be a push against that because people would say, we're going to contaminate the Martians' pristine biome. So that's not a 100% in that direction thing. That there could be scientists who would say, we discovered life on Mars. Now we need to stay far away from it. Or you only send robotic probes that have been cleaned in an autoclave or whatever there to investigate because we don't want human beings anywhere near it. Really, ultimately, there aren't a whole lot of killer apps for space colonization. Again, probably the best one and the one that would be most likely to work would be if there was a near miss by a really dangerous asteroid. That would probably get people thinking maybe humanity needs another world to be on besides this one. And I suppose, I guess, if the planet Earth, if scientists discovered, for instance, the planet Earth is doomed, it's just not going to survive, and it's going to wind up, in 100 years or 200 years, way worse than Mars is. In that event, possibly you could see people saying, "Well, we need to colonize Mars," but I mean, things would have to get really bad before Mars would be a more attractive option than simply hunkering down on Earth. So really, there probably aren't any practical killer apps for space colonization besides maybe the asteroid thing. I mean, I would surely love to see it and see the technology that would be developed to make it possible. But that's an intellectual interest. I'm not personally, convicted that humanity has to do that, or they fail to live up to their potential. No, I mean, I'm not going to go to space, and I don't really have a personal, vendetta that humanity has to colonize space. I just find it intellectually fascinating, and I don't really. I would find the technologies that make it possible to go there fascinating. Just like I find technologies that we're developing now to advance space flight fascinating, like Elon Musk and his Starship. I find that fascinating. Doesn't mean that I'm buying stock in the company or anything. It just means that intellectually I find it fascinating. The technologies that would be necessary to facilitate colonization would be even more so. I mean, we would have to really, put on our thinking caps to get that done. And I would love to see it, but I don't feel it's not. I'm not a true believer. Put it that way. I don't feel that it's a make or break, and I'm not losing sleep over whether we do it. I just think it's really that sort of technology is really interesting, and I'd really like to see more of it. But it's not, to me, it's not the end of the world one way or the other. But I do find that technology fascinating, and I like to think about it. I guess that's all. Thanks for visiting.